Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 23 of Innovative EdTech. It is lovely to have you here with us again for another episode. We've got another wonderful session for you this evening. So let's get this party started and dive into our April. I had to remember what month it was, our April Innovative EdTech. So welcome to OneNote 101, getting started with digital notebooks. So tonight we're going to dive into having a look at OneNote and how OneNote could be a fantastic resource that you could use for yourself or you could use with your students in the classroom. So let's dive into this session and let's get going. All right, so if you have not met me before, my name is Tristan Heron. If you are a regular viewer and a member of the Evolved EdTech community, welcome back. It is lovely to see you again, and I am so excited for you and to bring this session to you tonight. But if we haven't met before, let me just introduce myself because it's so nice to get to know your presenters, and I'm very willing to talk about myself. I love talking about myself. Anyway, my name is Tristan Heron. I am the founder and the Future Ready Teaching Specialist here at Evolve EdTech, and we have been around in various forms since 2020. We actually predate COVID, believe it or not, if you can remember all the way back to that time of our lives and our world. We actually started off as another brand. We started off under the name of the EdTech Teacher, and then in 2021, we evolved into what we are now known, which is Evolve EdTech. So I am a fully qualified teacher here in Australia. So I am actually qualified to teach from kindergarten to year 12, which is the full scope of our schooling systems here in Australia. So I can teach in primary schools and high school settings, and I have taught in both of those settings throughout my career. However, I have predominantly been a high school teacher for most of my career. So I have majors in English and history. So that means in my high school teaching areas, I can teach English and history. And I have been teaching for just over 15 years now. So I have been around the blocks. I have seen a lot happen in 15 years. And I can say that I do have a really in-depth understanding of what it's like to be an educator and what it's like to actually be there in the classroom, and especially when it comes to educational technology. So that leads us beautifully onto the next point here, is that I actually, believe it or not, I have a huge interest in educational technology. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here right now presenting to you and sharing my love and knowledge with you. But EdTech is something that is really a pretty special and pretty significant part of my world since I started my teaching career. And I actually really fell in love with educational technology in 2012 when I was teaching in my very first high school, and we were using Moodle. It was when we were going through a bit of an education revolution here in Australia when it came to devices, and I was introduced to Moodle. I loved Moodle. I remember presenting workshops and staff meeting sessions about Moodle, and it was such an eye-opening and powerful moment for me as an educator. And that is where my love of EdTech has grown and fostered from. So I have been interested in this for some time. I have been around, I have tested, I have tried, I have utilized. So trust me, when I am here sharing this information with you, I can tell you that I have been there before. And that is why I think educational is such a valuable part of education in preparing our students for the future. And we were so lucky here at Evolve EdTech in 2025. We were actually nominated for a Global Teaching and Learning Award. It was very unexpected, and it was an absolutely amazing opportunity and an amazing, moment to actually be recognized for what we do here at Evolve EdTech. So we were actually awarded the Leading Teacher EdTech Training Initiative 2025 award from the Corporate Vision Education and Training Awards. So it was just a wonderful chance to be recognized for what we do and everything that we are doing here at Evolve EdTech to support you with educational technology. So it was really wonderful to receive that award. So that's a little bit about me and Evolve EdTech, but I'm not here to talk about myself for the next 60 minutes. I am here to talk to you about something pretty amazing, and that is Microsoft's OneNote. So if you've been around for a while, you know that I do love Google and Google Workspace, and I haven't really focused a great deal on Microsoft products, but we're going to start to change that up a little bit more as well, because I love Google and Google Workspace, but I am not an exclusive user of just Google Workspace. I still use Microsoft. I still use Microsoft Word. I've dabbled in different formats and features of Microsoft before, and I still love these. So tonight we're actually going to go and focus on a Microsoft product, and that is Microsoft OneNote. So let's have a quick look at what we're going to explore over the next hour. We're really determined to make it in that hour today. If you have been here before, you know that I like to talk a lot, and we're going to try and make it to that hour today. So in this episode of Innovative EdTech, this is what we are going to try and achieve over the next 60 minutes. So we're going to help you understand, if you are new to OneNote, we're going to tell you a little bit about what OneNote is and how it works and why it might be a tool that you might pop into your EdTech toolkit. We're going to explore how to navigate OneNote with Microsoft 365. So we're going to go and talk about some of the different ways that you can access OneNote, because just like most other products, there are a number of different ways and avenues that you can go down in order to be able to access this product. We are going to have a look at some key features of OneNote, so some key areas that you might consider using it for, whether it's for you as a teacher or whether it's for you with your students, etc. We're then going to dive into OneNote. We're going to go and have a look at a demo. We're going to go and create a OneNote from scratch. I'm going to very quickly, because there's just too much to get into 60 minutes, I'm going to show you some of those key features to get you started with this amazing tool. And then we're going to wrap up the episode by just sharing some different ways that you can stay connected with us here at Evolve EdTech, and some different ways that you can continue to learn with us here, because it's all about growth. It's all about learning. It's all about that knowledge and making sure that our young people are prepared for their future. So that's what we're going to have a look at over the next 60 minutes. So why don't we dive in and get started? So OneNote. OneNote is a fantastic tool, and it might not be something that you've dabbled in or explored with, but OneNote is your digital notebook reimagined. I think OneNote is one of the best tools out there on the market if you're looking for a digital notebook suite platform that pretty much has every single thing in it. So OneNote is such a versatile, powerful tool, but it does require you to dive in, to experiment, to see what it's like, so that you get that gist, that you get that understanding and knowledge beforehand. So we're going to go and have a look at this tonight. We're going to go and, as I mentioned, we're going to dive in. I'm going to do a live demo to show you some of those really basic key features so that you can get started with this amazing tool. So what is OneNote, and why can it become your new digital notebook? So I love digital, this digital education. I love EdTech. I love all this. OneNote, as I just mentioned, I think is one of the best digital notebook tools out there that is accessible for most of us quite freely and quite easily, because it is part of Microsoft 365 and most of us have access to Microsoft products. So it is a really powerful digital notebook suite that is really great if you are getting started with EdTech, or you're looking for a way to kind of streamline things that you're already doing. So let's go and have a look at 5 reasons why OneNote can become your brand new digital notebook, and have a look at what OneNote is. Okay, so OneNote is a powerful digital notebook that allows you to capture, organize, and share information in one central place. So you can put pretty much anything that you can think of in your OneNote notebook. All right, so you can have everything. You can have lesson plans, you can have resources, you can have student plans, you can have data, you can have information, you can have resources, videos, audio. There are so many things that you can include in this, and you can have them all in that one central location. So if you don't like switching between different platforms and you find that really frustrating, you might be able to have a digital daybook, a digital OneNote planner, where all of this is in one central location. So that's just the first reason why OneNote is such a powerful tool. All right, it is a way for us to capture, organize, and share information in one central place. All right, OneNote is also designed to replicate and improve on those traditional notebooks, folders, and binders. So if you're like me, and I really don't like having folders and paper on my desk, if you go and look at my desk, you'll see that it is very minimalistic in my particular faculty and staff room because I don't like having those endless copies of resources. I remember from my very early days as a teacher, I had a desk load of folders and binders full of resources. Did I look at those? No, I did not look at those. And I remember bringing all of those home and then spending hours in my garage pulling them out of plastic sleeves and putting them in the recycling bin. So Microsoft OneNote is actually designed to replicate those traditional notebooks, those traditional folders, binders, to make your life a little bit more streamlined and a little bit more functional and a little bit more organized. All right, so OneNote also uses a flexible free-form canvas that allows you to click anywhere to type, draw, insert media, or embed resources. So we haven't really got any restrictions here. It's basically a canvas where you can pop virtually anything where you want it, which for some people is really great. For people like me who do like things very organized and structured, it can get a little bit frustrating, but it is very easy to be able to create and to be able to come up with something that is going to work for you. So that flexible free-form canvas makes OneNote really accessible, really simple to use, and it is going to make your life so much easier. Okay, another reason is that OneNote supports a wide range of context, including text, images, PDFs, audio recording, links, handwritten notes. Virtually anything can be uploaded and embedded into a OneNote document. This is why it is so powerful, because there are so many things that you can do with this OneNote document that really you're probably only limited by your imagination and what you can come up with and what you can design. It's all about what works for you. So just because I like my OneNote this particular way doesn't mean that is going to work for every single person. So it does support so many different types of contexts and resources that you are going to find this to be a really valuable resource to add to your teacher EdTech toolkit. And finally, OneNote, and this is probably another great benefit here, is that OneNote automatically saves and syncs your work across your devices in real time. So we now live in a world where we use the cloud, all right? We have work saved, or we complete work on one particular device, then we might move to something else. So we might start off with a laptop or a desktop computer, then we might go to our phone, then we might go to a tablet, an iPad, a Chromebook. The really great thing about OneNote is it doesn't matter where you are doing this, you are going to be able to access all of that work in real time on these different devices. Okay, so we work in this world now. This is the world we live in. We need to access this information and these resources really easily and quickly, no matter what device we're on. Once upon a time, if you were using a laptop, you had to have your OneNote installed on your laptop, and if you didn't have the right version, it could cause all these different types of problems. Now, with the benefit of the cloud, and we're going to focus on the cloud version of OneNote tonight, all right, we can go and access all of this in real time across all of the devices that we're using. So it's actually saving you a bucket load of time. It's reducing your stress and anxiety of whether or not you're going to be able to access something, whether you're going to have the latest version, whatever it is. It's actually helping you become a much more efficient and effective educator. So OneNote brings together your lesson plans. It brings together your notes, your resources. It brings together your ideas, and it brings them all together in one organized, searchable space. All right. So if you're looking, as I mentioned earlier, if you're looking for one place to put your lesson plans, your notes, your resources, your ideas, because you hate going across multiple platforms, this is the place for you to do it. All right. It's like a binder. You can create your own teacher diary if you want. You can do so many things here so that you have all of these things that you need or all of these things your students will need to be able to complete their learning activities all in one nice, organized, searchable space. All right. So this is one of the big benefits of OneNote. And that is why we're here tonight presenting this to you, because it is such a powerful tool that I think some of us don't know about, or some of us don't know a lot about. And that's why we want to introduce it to you this evening. Okay, so why does OneNote matter for you as an educator? Why is it a tool that we are here sharing with you tonight? Why do we think it is something that is actually going to be beneficial for you as an educator and as a professional, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a student learning support officer, a teacher's aide, whether you're working in administration, whether you're some other kind of support within the education system? Why does OneNote matter, and how can you use it yourself, and how can you use OneNote with your students? All right. So OneNote's not exclusive to just teachers and educators, but OneNote is also a really powerful tool that you can use with students. And I'll provide some examples of OneNote and when we last used OneNote pretty heavily in my particular context, and that was during COVID. And I'll talk about that a little bit later as well. Okay, so OneNote matters, all right? And OneNote provides educators like you and I with more possibilities, all right? So it reduces that endless mountain of paper that we sometimes end up with. And I just talked about how when I started teaching, I had binders, all right? And I'm talking probably 20 odd binders of different year groups, of different units and different resources and things that I honestly never, ever went back to look at. All right. So it is something that is so big. And I see teachers now with desk fulls of binders. And I just go, why don't you scan them? Why don't you pop them in digitally so that you can find them? All right. And also reduce that clutter. But that's just me, because I am a little bit, OCD and a bit of a perfectionist, which is not a great thing. But OneNote provides us with so many possibilities. And that's why it matters for you and I as educators. So let's go and have a look at some reasons why OneNote can provide us with a lot of possibilities, and why it matters for you to think about, why could OneNote be a tool that you might add to your EdTech toolkit? So with OneNote, we can centralize that organization, which is something that I have demonstrated and I can talk about myself. So you could keep all of your teaching materials, your notes and resources in one easy to navigate space. So maybe you're teaching year 8 English, year 8 geography, maybe you've got a year 6 class, maybe you're teaching some kind of social science, maybe you're teaching history, geography, biology, legal studies, whatever you're teaching, wherever you are in the world, your OneNote and your OneNote folders that you could have for your different types of classes or subjects are that one central location where you can keep all of these resources. So rather than having, binders on your desk full of these, pop them into your OneNote, easy to navigate, easy to access on multiple devices, and you can go and find those and download those and access those so that you can use those with your students. So it is a centralized location for you to organize everything related to your teaching programs. Okay, it also has that anywhere, anytime access, right? We've talked about this already. So we can access that content whether we're at school, whether we're at home, whether we're on the go. We don't need USBs. We aren't going to lose files. We aren't going to say, oh, there was that paper copy of the assessment information or the answers and it's on my desk. No, because it's inside our OneNote binder. It is there for us to access. The other really great thing here is maybe if you have a faculty or a team binder here, you might have those really important documents that you're accessing and using, and you are able to access those wherever you are, right? Once upon a time, and I remember this, and it was so frustrating, you'd have an on-site school server where all of your school-related stuff would be saved. If you didn't save that to a USB or an external hard drive or email it to yourself or something, and you needed it during the weekend or school holidays, you wouldn't have access to that. So being able to use OneNote and being able to access this content and this information and these resources anywhere at any time is actually why OneNote matters to you as well. Yes, we have the cloud. Yes, we have Google Workspace and we have Google Drive and we have OneDrive and we have every single thing that we could use now. But OneNote is a really powerful way but you can also do this in that one centralized location. Okay, another reason why OneNote matters is that OneNote can support diverse learners. All right. So we know that our kids in our classes have a huge, diverse range of abilities and interests and, knowledge and understanding, all these different types of things. We know that we work in the 21st century. It is 2026 now, and kids and the world has changed. All right. So the really great thing, if you're going to use a OneNote document with your students, is that you can support those diverse learners. So we can pop in text, we can pop in visuals, we can pop in audio, we can have handwriting to cater for different learning styles. We can basically do anything that we need to support our students, right? And we can do that so quickly and so readily and so easily with a OneNote document. So that is another reason why OneNote matters for educators, right? It can help us support those diverse learners that we have in our classes. Okay, another reason why OneNote matters is that OneNote actually can encourage collaboration. So there's a couple of things here. We can actually have a collaborative OneNote document where our students work together. Maybe we've got them working in small groups. Okay, we've got them maybe self-identified groups, or we've popped some groups together for a research project. They can work together in this document in a shared space. So we can support that teamwork, we can support that discussion, we can see what's happening. It's all in a nice, safe location so that every student in that particular group is going to be able to contribute to that. So we can encourage that collaboration. We can also take that idea about collaboration and maybe we have a team OneNote binder, right? So maybe we're working with a number of our colleagues, or we're working with senior leadership, or we're working on a project. We could be using a OneNote binder to be able to do this as well. So, at my particular context, we've got some monitoring folders that we use for our Year 12 students and our Year 11 students. And we've got these as OneNote documents. So we've created them, we duplicate them each year so that we've got a structure, so that we've got that consistency, and they are accessible through a shared team on Teams, okay, through SharePoint and things like that, so that everybody is able to access those. So that collaboration, whether it's for you as an educator or for students, is something that is another really powerful reason why OneNote actually matters to you, and why it's something that you should consider and think about including in your EdTech toolkit. Okay, OneNote also can help streamline your workflow, right? And this is something that I've alluded to already here. And this is what I love about presenting to you, is we kind of bring up these same points in a myriad of different ways to show you that they actually have a pretty consistent interlinking. And this is why we want to present these ideas to you, and we want you to think about these. So OneNote can help streamline your workflow. So you can reduce printing, you can simplify lesson plans, and you can quickly reuse or adapt materials. So we were just talking about our monitoring folders, and we duplicate those each year. So we have the same structure. We have the bare bones that we use, and then we update that each year for our new cohorts. You can reduce printing, and I'll talk to you and I'll give you an example about how we used OneNote in my particular context, and it was during the COVID period and the learning from home period. And I will explain why I really encouraged my team to look at using OneNote, and why OneNote was an easy way to streamline what we were doing to make our lives easier as we were going through a very turbulent, unexpected period. But it was just a really great way to simplify what we were doing. So OneNote is a great way to simplify those workflows, to reduce our printing, to make our lesson planning easier, to make our organization, to make it easier to reuse or adapt materials, so that you are being a much more efficient and effective educator. Okay, and our final example here as to why OneNote matters for educators is OneNote is a fantastic way to enhance feedback. So and we know that feedback is such a valuable part of being a teacher and also a learner. OneNote can provide real-time personalized feedback using typed, handwritten or audio comments. So if we have our students doing something in a OneNote document, if they're using a class notebook, right, we can jump in there, we can have a look at it just like it would be with a normal, maybe physical notebook or a binder book or some kind of workbook. All right, we can actually get in there and have a look at that in the same way. We can provide personalized feedback, whether we're typing that, whether we're going to provide some handwritten notes using a tablet and a stylus, or whether we're going to go something even a little bit more fancy and we're going to pop in some audio comments there, which I think is fantastic because you're able to, sometimes get out that feedback and get out those ideas in a much more clearer and concise way when you are actually doing that through, a verbal comment, an audio comment that you're embedding into a student's notebook. So there we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 reasons why OneNote actually does matter for educators. We want you to think about some of those ways and some of those reasons why OneNote is actually something that you should consider looking at. If you haven't used OneNote before, this is why we have these innovative EdTech episodes. We want to introduce you to these tools. We don't have enough time to go into a real depth analysis, but if we can get you started with some of the reasons, some of the thinking behind why these tools could be used in the classroom, we really encourage you to go out and to explore and experiment and see what you can come up with on your own. So we're kind of the foundations. We're providing you with the stepping stones. Now it's up to you to decide, what are your fixtures? What are you going to look like? What's the interior? What colors? What carpet? Okay, what do you want to get out of this? So we're just providing you with that initial starting block, and then hopefully you're going to take it from there. So where can you find OneNote and how can you access it? So there's a couple of different ways here and a couple of different ways to go about this. And it depends on your particular context. And it also depends on what type of device that you're using. So as we mentioned earlier, there are a number of different ways we can access our OneNote documents across multiple devices because it's going to be synced if you're using the cloud-based version, right? It is going to definitely be synced across all of these versions. There is also another version. There is also a desktop version. We're not going to talk about that one today. We're just going to focus on the online version, all right? But where can you find it and how can you access it? So let's dive in and have a quick gander so that you are able to know where to go to get started. So we're just going to have a look at 4 different ways to access OneNote. All right, so these are just 4 different ways. There's actually a couple of extra ways that we chose not to include in this episode tonight because we just want you to get started with where to find this. We don't want to overload you. We don't want to confuse you too much. So we just thought we'd just stick with these 4 to get going. Okay, the very first option, and this is the option that I'm going to show to you tonight, is we're just going to go and access it through Microsoft 365, and we're going to do that through our Chrome web browser. All right, so we're going to start off there. Again, if you're not using Chrome, if you are using Edge, which is probably the more logical search engine to do this through, but I'm going to use Chrome tonight. It's really simple. All you do is head to office.com, you sign in with your school email, all right, and you essentially get started there. I'm going to show you how to access it because once you log into Microsoft 365, that is obviously your full Microsoft 365 account. So I'll show you where to find your OneNote if it doesn't appear there so that we can get started with that. This is the option I'm going to show you tonight, all right? And it is probably the one of the simplest ways to get started. Office.com, sign in with your school account and get started from there. All right, the next way that you can access OneNote is through OneDrive. So again, if you are already in your Microsoft 365 account, if you're already logged into OneDrive, we can actually access OneNote files that we have created, but we can also start creating new files, all right? So I might show you this as well tonight if I remember, so that you can see how easy it is to be able to open and create a new OneNote file and binder through OneDrive. Okay, our next option for accessing OneNote is through the desktop app. So we're not going to show you this tonight because I don't think I actually have the desktop app installed on my computer. And that's because I prefer using the online version myself. But if you would like to install the desktop app because you have been using the desktop app before, you might prefer it, you might like to continue using that. All right, all you're going to do is go and just search on your device OneNote and see if it's installed. If it's not installed, just head to Google, type in, OneNote download, okay, or head over to Microsoft 365 and you'll be able to download that desktop app onto whatever device you are actually using. All right, so we're not going to show you that particular option tonight. That's another option there, but you can definitely download the desktop app version if that is what you're looking for. And the final option that we're going to talk about tonight is this one here, which is our mobile options. So if you are using iOS or you're using Android, you can definitely download Microsoft's, you can download Microsoft 365, but you can also download the OneNote app if you just want to use OneNote itself. And that is really easy to do. Just head to the App Store, just head to Google Play, okay? Just search for OneNote. Again, sign in with your Microsoft credentials, follow the directions. It's pretty easy, very breezy. So you can see here that there's a couple of different ways that you can access Microsoft 365. You can access OneNote, you can access OneDrive, Word, okay? We can do all of that through essentially kind of these 4 different ways. But tonight, we're going to focus on option 1. So we're going to have a look at the web browser. I'm going to take you to office.com. We're going to sign in. We're going to have a look at my account. And this is going to be my personal account this time, not an Evolve EdTech account, because, that's just what I have here. So we're going to show you what that looks like from this particular perspective. But obviously, there are those different options there because just like we've talked about, you can use any one of these options. Everything's going to be saved in real time and it's going to sync across your devices. So let's get started on the good stuff, which is diving in. Okay, actually, hold that, Tristan, because you were a little bit eager there. All right, so we're going to dive in a moment and we're going to jump into actually taking you into OneNote, because I think we really need to dive into OneNote to have a look at the bare bones, to have a look at the guts of it, to get an idea of what we can do with it. All right. As I mentioned, we're just going to start off very basic here. That's why it's called OneNote 101. All right. If you've been to university, and we all have been to university because we're all educators here as teachers, we're going to start off with the basics. So let's dive in with the very first thing here and have a look at how OneNote is structured. How is it organized? Because there's a couple of different layers here, all right? And you can see from this graphic just here on the screen that we have 4 kind of different layers that help us create this particular binder or this particular document. So OneNote is organized in a very simple layered structure that mirrors those traditional binders and folders and things like that. But it actually provides us with much more flexibility. All right. So that's the benefit of using OneNote. It is much more flexible. It is much more accessible. There's lots that we can do with this. And as I mentioned, it is only limited by your imagination. I don't know why I did that. I just thought it'd be dramatic. So let's go and have a look at how it is structured. So we're going to start over here on the left-hand side, which is essentially the bare bones. This is the base level. And then we're going to move over here to the right-hand side, okay, as we start to add additional elements and features that we might decide to incorporate into our particular binder. Okay, so we're going to start off with the notebook. The notebook itself. This is the big picture. This is the guts of our particular binder that we're going to create. So the notebook is your main container. All right. So we're going to use some different language here tonight. I'm going to try and remember this. It's the basics. Okay. It is the container. It is the folder. And if I had something around here, I'd whip it out and show you, but I don't have any binders around. I don't think so. Give me a second. This is going to be hilarious doing it live. Do I have any binders? Look at this. Look at this. Isn't this fantastic? So here's a binder, completely empty, because it's probably one of the ones that I purchased at some time and never ever used, because I don't like hordes of paper on my desk. Hang on, let me just get my chair right again. This is hilarious. There we go. All right, so the very first thing that we're going to start off with is our notebook is essentially this, our container. All right, so if we were looking at OneNote, it would look like this. So with our OneNote, we can create different notebooks for different purposes. All right, you don't just have to have one notebook. You might have 5 different notebooks if you teach 5 different classes. All right. And I obviously live down in Australia, and this year I do have 4.5 classes. So I share a year 8 class. I've got a year 9, a year 10, a year 11, and a year 12 class. So I could essentially have a notebook specifically for those particular classes there, all right, so that everything that I need is in that one particular space. So you can have different notebooks for different purposes. You might have personal planning notebooks. So I might have those notebooks that essentially are a day book, a teacher diary, just for those individual classes. You could have a faculty or a subject notebook where you have everything that you need. It's being shared. You've got your program, you've got your resources, you've got your assessment, you've got all different kinds of YouTube videos or audio or things like that. You could have those in one particular places. Or you could have, as I mentioned, you might have individual classes in individual folders. All right. You might have different year groups. You might have different groups. Essentially, it is up to you to decide how your notebook is going to look, right? Because your notebook, this one here, the folder, the binder, that is your container, all right? So that is the bare bones. That is the guts of what we're having. So each notebook is stored in the cloud, and you can share it with others, all right? You don't have to share it with others, but if you'd like to, because you'd like to do a bit of team teaching, you can do that. So excuse me. So the very first thing that we're starting off with is the notebook. It's that container that is going to host whatever our notebook is going to be about. So we've got our container, we've got our notebook. The next thing that we are going to include are our sections. So we have the outside, we have the notebook. It is an individual class notebook for my year 8 English class. So now we're going to divide it up into sections. Our sections sit inside our notebook, and they act like tabs or dividers. Now, this folder here doesn't have any tabs or dividers. It's just got some, what are those things? I have a brain fart here, but they've just got some plastic sleeves. They've just got some plastic sleeves in there. So your sections, your dividers are going to help you break up the different components here. So I might have a different tab or a different divider for each unit, or I might have one for each term. I might, whatever you want to do, you can do that here. All right. These tabs or these dividers can help you group related content together, and they can also be color coded to help make navigation easier. So you might have a different color for each unit or topic or text type or whatever you're doing there. So some examples here is maybe you have a divider for term 1, term 2, term 3, term 4. Maybe you've got one for reading assessment, writing assessment, assessments, whatever you're doing with different groups. You might have one for staff meetings, admin, resources. You can have as many different types of sections that you want so that you can divide that and you can make it accessible for you. So we start off with our notebook. We then pop in our sections, which leads us to the next page, which are our pages. Look at that. All right, so we have our notebook, we have our sections. Now we're going to pop in our different pages, and this is where the work happens. So our pages sit inside our sections. All right, so if we've created a section for term 1, the pages that we add to that particular section, all right, are going to sit underneath that particular tab, that particular divider, all right? And this is where we add our content and resources. So each page can hold all those different types of things: text, images, files, links, drawings, whatever you'd like to add there, we can pop those in to our pages under our sections. Pages can also include sub pages if you'd like to further organize your ideas and information. So you might have term 1, you might have week 1, then you might have your different lessons for the week, or you might just have week 1 so that you can pop in some kind of teacher diary. Okay, so there's a number of different ways here that you can start to create and structure this. Some examples here is that you might have lesson 1 notes, you might have assessment tasks, you might have meeting summaries. Again, it is only limited by what you can think of and what you can create yourself. So we've got our notebook, we've got our container, we've got our sections or dividers. Now we have our pages and some sub-pages. We're then going to finish off here, okay, and we did talk about this with our sub-pages, all right? So we can obviously go an extra step further, all right? This particular step here is, obviously you can see here, it is optional, and it's all about whether or not you want these sub-pages, all right? But essentially, we need that container, we have our sections, we have our pages. That is what is essential. And then we can use those sub-pages if we'd like to go a step further. So you can see here that we're starting off, it's like a tree, okay? And we're going from the very beginning, then we're stepping where we need to so that we can start to create this particular document so that it is purposeful, usable, functional for what we are looking to do. So that brings us into the demo element. We are going to jump over to OneNote in a moment. I'm going to show you, we're going to go to the Microsoft 365 homepage, office.com. We're going to head from there. We're going to get started, dive in. And as I mentioned, this is just a 101. This is just a basic to introduce this tool to you. There's too much to get started with straight away, all right, because we'll be here forever, and we definitely don't want to be here forever. So we're just going to go and have a look at the basics to get started tonight, all right? So that's what we're going to do tonight. So let's go and dive in to having a look at OneNote. So let's go here, and I've just gone over here to office.com. So office.com, and this is the current homepage of Microsoft 365, all right? And this is where you'll be able to log in. And remember, I did mention we were using the browser version tonight, and this is what I'm going to use here. So you can see here that this is the central location for everything. If we're using Word, Excel, okay, if you have an Outlook account, if you want to use PowerPoint, this is the place to get started, all right? If you don't have a Microsoft account with your particular school or district or organization, you can obviously buy those just here as well. All right, if you're looking at, I'm obviously based in Australia, so these prices here are going to be in Australian dollars. So make sure that you just have a look in your particular location. All right, so obviously these are in Australian dollars, and just make sure you have a look at the inclusions so that you get the right account, all right? So if there's something that you really don't need, don't spend the money, because we spend a lot of money as teachers buying resources and things that we probably don't always need. All right, so I'm going to head back. Okay, I'm going to go back. Back to the homepage here, and there's a couple of ways that we can sign in. We do have this beautiful black sign in button just here next to Buy Microsoft 365, and we do have it up here in the top right-hand corner as well. So we're going to click on sign in. Okay, it is going to get us to pop in our email address just there. So I'm just going to change my screen just so that I can log in here, although you did just see the you did just see the email address there. All right, so let's sign in here. Okay. Okay, just all the security on my computer. Okay, so I'm going to sign in just there. Beautiful. Boom, boom, boom. All right, here we go. So let me change the screen again. Okay, so I've signed into my Microsoft 365 account. Okay, and this is where we are going to get started. All right, so you can see over here on the left-hand side that we have some of those common tools from Microsoft 365 that you might be using regularly. So Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, OneDrive, Teams, and OneNote are just there as well. We do have a couple of other things here. We can search as well. All right, so if you're looking for something there, you can do that. All right, so we have all of that available there. So I'm going to get started, and I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to click straight onto OneNote. All right, so it's going to open up a OneNote for us. All right, we've got a beautiful graphic just there, and it's going to bring this up here. And you can see that I was playing around with this the other day in preparation for tonight. Now, I am using a personal account here, okay? If you are using a school account, it might be slightly different. So please just be aware that there are some differences. For example, there is a wonderful feature called Class Notebook that I highly suggest that you use if you are going to use this with students. I can't show you Class Notebook because I am not going to use my school account for this, and I don't have an appropriate account to show you a Class Notebook, but we're going to show you the basics of a OneNote notebook to get started. But just be aware that there might be some slight differences between a personal account and a school account, things like that. All right, so what you can see here on the page when you click into OneNote is you can see previous kind of files just here that you have used. Okay, you can show all notebooks just here. I think it's only going to show those couple there anyway. So that's taken us there. Oh, you can see a whole heap of stuff there. No, I don't want to upgrade there. Let's just go back there because we can't go back. Okay, let's just go back to OneNote. What are you doing to me? Okay, let's just go back here. Let's just go back. Here we go. All right, so I've just gone back to OneNote just here, and I'm just going to click on this beautiful purple, very easy to find, Create New OneNotebook button just here. And this is going to create my brand new notebook that we are going to use for our little demo in tonight's episode. So it is creating our notebook there. Just give it a few moments to do its thing. All right. So here we go. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Here is our container. All right. So remember, this is our container. Then we have our sections, and then we add our pages, and then we can add our sub pages. All right. So this is where we are getting started. So what we can do is I'm going to come up the top here, and I think we can, let's see, can we give this a name? I think we need to, can we give this a name? I don't know about that. We'll have to have a look at that. All right, so let's jump in here. Okay, so we've got our ability to add our sections here. It already defaults straight to one section. We just click on add section to create our next section. So let's just put in something very generic because, you know, it's very hard to think on my feet. All right, so we can pop in those additional sections into our folder and our binder just there. If you don't like those kind of default colors, I'm pretty sure we can right click. Yes, we can. And we can come over here to section color. We don't have a huge range of colors, so don't be too kind of possessive about those because you'll probably run out of colors eventually, but we can change those colors just there. All right, we do also have the ability to rename a section. All right, so we can rename those if you've made a bit of a boo-boo. We can delete those sections as well, but they will be permanently deleted. So just be very cautious that you're not deleting anything that you are going to need to access and use later because it's not going to be there. So what we can do now is we can start to add our pages. So I'm actually going to click on Untitled Section just here, because this is the section where we're going to add our pages. Okay, so just be aware that if you want to add pages to a specific section, you need to actually be on that section. All right, now it's not the end of the world. We can fix this if we make a bit of a boo-boo here. So all we do now is we just go add page. Again, we can right click, we can copy that, we can delete it, we can move it, we can add our pages. Okay, now you'll see here that it says untitled page, and you're probably like, Tristan, how do I change that? That's really simple. So you can see here that my cursor is just on this little spot here with a default kind of time and date. So don't stress too much about that. I believe there is a way to delete it, but I can't remember that off the top of my head right now. So now if I just pop in this here and I just start to give this particular kind, you know, what do we call it? a canvas a name, you'll see that it starts to name those pages. So if you're using this with students, probably try to use names that are going to be easy to find. Matt Miller from Ditch That Textbook, really big on using emojis, especially for students that struggle to read or who are younger. So you might say, let's look for the page with the red dot emoji or something like that, so it's easier to find and locate. All right, so once we start to do this, assessment schedule, all right, we can see that those pages are starting to actually now be named so that we can identify those. So let's say, oh no, I put assessment schedule in untitled section when it's meant to be in test 1, right? We can obviously right click this here. We can move that, and you can see just here that we can very quickly move that, all right, to that particular section there. So now if I come here to test 1, that assessment schedule is just there. So it's very easy to create those sections and to add our pages. All right, we did talk about sub pages. So if we come back up here to, let's say, let's go, we'll go to test 1, we'll go to our assessment schedule. Maybe we want to have a look at our assessment schedules for all of our classes. So all we do is click on the page that we'd like to create a sub page. We click on make sub page. All right, and we can see that it's now, or that's actually been indented there. So that's actually been indented. I'm going to actually just take that one out to promote page. I'm actually going to take this untitled page here, and I'm going to make, I'm going to move this one down here. I'm going to make this one a sub page. So you can see this one here, the assessment schedule, is our main page, and then down here are our sub pages. So we could come here and we could pop in a new page. We could have that as year 8. We could go year 9, etc., so that we have those sub pages just there. So it's very easy to add our sections and then add our pages and sub pages so that we can start to create our OneNote workbook. All right, so we have our canvas just here, which is our space to basically do anything that you would like. We have all the normal types of features and functions here. We've got our obviously undo button, our clipboard, we can, our format painter. We've got different fonts. We can change the size. We've got bold, italics, highlight, color. Okay, we have all of these different features and functions available for us so that we can create this. So just to show you, the power and benefit of this is you don't have a particular place where you have to start. You can just pop your cursor and you can start creating wherever you'd like. All right. It's very easy if you've accidentally done it in the wrong spot, just to click on it and you can move that. All right. And you can drag this and you can create this particular canvas in whatever style, whatever feature, incorporate whatever you want onto this particular page. All right, we obviously have our different types of styles here. So if you're looking for a particular style, okay, we can add tags, which are really great. So if you want to create like a to-do list here, we can add a to-do list. So we can go and add a tag there. So if you've got some kind of checklist with your students, that is a really great place that we can start to do that. We could add, we can start to add, let's go here, criteria 2. Okay, and we can add those just there. So we've got a whole heap of different tags as well. We can pop in a question. Okay, we've got all of those there. So I just clicked over here randomly. All right, I can pop more of these in here. Okay, I can pop in what could we pop in here? Maybe I want to pop in a definition. All right, so we can pop in a definition here so that's really easy. I just put some random gunk there so our students can find that. But you can see that you can basically do this. You can move things anywhere you like. Super, super simple. Okay, we have some options here with spelling. We can hide spelling errors. We can set, different options here with our students. We do have our dictate feature here. So I don't know if this will work, but let's have a look. Okay, so we've got our features and functions down the bottom here. Okay, so don't know if that's actually working because I'm obviously using a microphone right now, but we can pop that in there. Okay, and our dictation. Okay, we've got our settings there. Oh, that was using my microphone for my webcam instead. So I don't know what went on there or where that was, but we can use that dictation. All right, we've got a feed here that we can use, okay, which is really useful. I'm not signed into that. And obviously we've got our find capabilities there if we're looking for something specific. So that is the first kind of page that you are going to get started with when you dive into OneNote. All right. So you're going to create your OneNote folder. You're going to add your sections, your pages, your sub pages, and then you're probably going to just start off by having a look at some of these formatting options just to get started. So it's very similar to what you're using in Word. It's very similar to PowerPoint. It's very similar to Excel. It's you know, the great thing about these tools is the consistency across all of the platforms so that you know what to do and where to get started. So we've done that. Now we're going to head over here to the next tab, which is Insert. And this is where we can start to really add more features and functionality to our OneNote documents. So I'm just going to click on a new page here so I have a brand new canvas to get started with. All right. And going to click here, make sure that I'm on my page. Maybe you'd like to include a table. All right. So we can pop a table in there. All right. It is a little bit tricky when it comes to formatting using OneNote. So if you're somebody that really likes very highly structured, you know, same sized columns and rows and things like that, you might just want to be careful because you may not get that perfectly when it comes to OneNote. Okay, so it's something just to be mindful of here. All right, we obviously have those features and functions that we can, you know, edit as well here. All right, we can also add additional rows, we can add additional columns, we can delete, we can select, we can do a lot of those different things here, and we can create that there. So if I go, let's say criteria, let's go A range, B range, C range, D range. So maybe this is some kind of assessment schedule, you know, some kind of assessment rubric there. We can add that just there as well. Okay, so let's head back up to Insert. Now, this is where we can also add files to our particular document. So this is why it could be a really great resource to keep files that you are using and accessing. So we can insert a file attachment. This is what I tend to do with my OneNote documents because I'm a little bit concerned about whether if I pop it in as a link, whether that link will always continue to be accessible. So I tend to err on the side of caution because even I'm still cautious. I'm here and I'm teaching you about EdTech, but I'm still cautious about it sometimes. So I tend to pop my particular files in as attachments. So I'm popping this one in here into my particular table, but obviously I can just come over here and I can insert that particular file anywhere that I would like. So I can pop those anywhere. All right. And again, this is the great thing about OneNote. It's your canvas. You can do whatever you like. You can also pop in a file printout. All right. I don't know. Let's have a look here. Okay, let's pop this one in here. So this is my Google Sites workbook that is available for you on our website. So I'm just going to pop that in there. Okay, and now that's in there, I can access that. I can download that, okay, if I'd like to. So I've just popped that in there as a file printout. You can see it's quite large. We can make that a little bit smaller. Oh, it's popped the whole thing in there. All right, so it's popped the whole document in there, okay, which is several pages there. But you can, I believe, can we make that a bit smaller? No. So this is probably the thing I don't like about putting the file printouts in if they're multiple pages is they can take up a lot of room. Again, I can move this, all right, but if it's only a one page, that should be pretty fine. All right, so we can include that. All right, we can pop our pictures in here. We can have our device, our camera. We can search on the web. So if I pop this just in here, which is just one of our tiles from our academy, all right, I can pop that in there, okay, and that is there and accessible as well. All right, so we go head back up here. We can insert links. All right, so let's pop in. Let's just go Evolve EdTech OneNote.com. So we can pop links in there. We can have a display name. So rather than it displaying the website, we can actually have the name of the website. So I'll just say Evolve EdTech website. I'll spell Evolve EdTech correctly. We can pop that in there. So if you have a list of different websites you'd like your students to access, you can pop those in there as well. We can also add audio as well. So that's just popped that into, I'll click off that because that's popped. Oh, no. So it's currently, it may be recording. I don't know if it's recording, but it's just telling me there that it is. And up the top here, we have our different features. I don't think it's working. So I'm going to press stop. All right. And then we've got a little audio recording just there as well. All right. So I don't think that worked. It's going to download that. I don't want to download that. So we'll just leave that for now. All right. If we come back up to insert, we can insert. We can insert different types of symbols and things like that. We can insert emojis. Okay. As I mentioned, they might be really useful for you to use, and we can access the Office add-ins. All right, so just like if you are using some different features and functions and things from the Chrome Web Store, you can do that as well. But I don't have that just there because I have not installed my web add-ons for my organization, so that's not working for me at the moment. Okay, I'm just going to go to a new page here. So we have a new canvas, so it's nice and clear. All right, we're going to head over here to the next tab, which is Draw. Now, this is really useful in a number of different ways. All right, it probably is more featureful if you're using a tablet or a device with a stylus. All right, so this might be something that you might use if you're using those kind of technological tools. Okay, so we've got different things here. We can type. Okay, so obviously we can type and go from there, which is really useful. Okay, we have our lasso effect here. Okay, so we've got that there. We can use some different, well, these are erasers just here, so we can get rid of things. Well, I haven't written anything, so that's probably why. We have our different pens. We have our highlighters here, so I'll try and write with my mouse here, which, oh, that's terrible. All right, and now if I come over here and I get my, is this going to work? My stroke eraser. So there we go. Okay, I've got my highlighter here. So if I'm doing something, I can highlight text. Okay, I can change draw to touch. All right, so we've got that just there. We've got my colors. All right, again, not a great deal of highlighter colors there to choose from, so just be aware of that. Okay, we've got our thickness. So if I want a bit of a thicker highlighter, we can do that. And I also have a ruler here. I'm assuming that I can turn it. I'm just not sure how to. Let's see if I can move that. Okay. Not quite sure. That's a huge ruler. Looks like it continues forever there. So we do have that draw functionality there as well. As I said, it's probably easier to use this if you have a stylus or a tablet that has that feature and functionality, and this might come in really handy for you. Okay, our next tab is View. All right, I might just go to another page here so we have a nice clear space to work through. Okay, this is where we can use our immersive reader. So if you're using immersive reader, you can use that here. All right, I don't have any text, so obviously it's not going to show you anything there. But if you are using immersive reader, that is where you can go to use that. Okay, we do have the ability here to zoom. Okay, we have the ability to change our page color. Okay, so maybe if you need a blue or a green, okay, you can do that there. Oh, I'm in the highlighter still. We can pop in lines here. So if you'd like your students to be using lines, we can actually have that particular type of page there. We can look at our page versions. Now, this also doesn't seem to be working for me now, can come in really handy if you want to have a look at changes. Okay, so very similar to the option for the version history in the Google products. So that is also very handy. You can have a look at authors here. We can delete, have a look at our deleted notes, all right? And we can check our accessibility. All right, we have our, obviously we have our normal help options, all right, which are available for us there. If we head back to our file section. All right, this is where we can go, and obviously we can edit this in the desktop app. So just because I'm using the browser version now doesn't mean I can't use this in the desktop app, but just remember you need that desktop app installed to be able to use that. We can print. So if you're looking to print any of this, I don't know if this is going to let me print at the moment. We can actually print those. So if you need to provide a student with a hard copy, you can do that as well. We can share this as well with other people if we would like to. And it does just give us information about when that particular document was created. So that was just a very, very, very quick introduction. And I did tell you that it was only going to be a very, very quick introduction to OneNote. There is so much that you can do here. And if I just come back, I'm going to go back to my home. I'm just going to see if I can show you. Let's see here. I did start to put together, or try to start to put together, a resource that I was going to share with people. I didn't get very far, but I was trying to create a teacher diary. Okay, so a digital teacher diary here. I didn't get very far there, so that's disappointing. So let's see if I come back. Let's go here. I don't know if there's anything. Let's have a look at this one, the HSC monitoring folder. I think I got this from somebody who was sharing it through their particular channel. Here we go. Here's a perfect example here. So this is a monitoring folder that we have to use with our stage 6 students, where I particularly work in my state, which is year 11 and 12. So here we've just got information to help us get started. We've got some different instructions. We've got checklists and sign-offs and things that we need to do. All right. And then we've got our different sections. And you can see here within the section, we have different pages. All right. So this particular monitoring folder here, this has been created so that we all have access to it, so it's consistent, so that people are able to jump in there who, oh, there's something wrong there, that we're able to make sure that we are meeting those requirements that we need to maintain the monitoring and the, that we're doing the right things as teachers. So you can see here that this particular OneNote example is an example of a OneNote document that has been created for a specific purpose. So all we would do each year is we would just come in here, we would just make a copy of that. So if I head back here, back to my OneNote, all right, and I come here, I can just click on the 3 dots to open that. I'm pretty sure if I click, no, that just opens that. All I would do if I wanted to make a copy of this is I'd just come up to, obviously up to, well, not file, because that's not letting me do that, is it? I'd come up here, I'd come over here, and then I'd just go and save it as a new file. Okay, so let's just take a minute there. But you can do it. I obviously am using a school account when I use this, so it's a little tiny bit different to a personal account, but you definitely can copy those and duplicate those. If I come back to, I don't care about that. If I come back here, let's have a look here. 3 dots. Here we go. All right. So this is in my OneDrive. So I can copy these and I can make other copies in my OneDrive. All right. So there's a tip there. This is what I love about these sessions, because even though I'm here teaching you, doesn't mean that I know every single thing in the world, and we can learn together. So this is in my OneDrive. OneDrive here. So this is my example just here. I've just clicked on my 3 dots here. You can see that I can open it, I can share it, I can copy the link, I can manage access, etc. All right, and if I wanted to duplicate that, I would just copy that. It'll ask, where do you want to copy it to? So I just want to copy it to the same location. I'll just go copy. It'll pop it in there for me as well. Oh, it's got the same name. So I would just go, let's just copy this to, we'll make up somewhere. We'll just pop it randomly here if it works. I'm not sure. There we go. It's copying it just to another file there. And I'm going to be able to go in there and reuse that. All right. So that's how easy it is. It is a space where you essentially have control over what it looks like, what you include, how you're going to set it up. It's up to you. All right. And it might take a little bit of time to get to where you want to get it to, But start simple. Start with, one class. Start by having a look at your units, have a look at your maybe assessment planning resources. Don't start and don't go in big, Ben Hur, I'm going to do everything to start with. Start with something that is accessible, start with something that is achievable, and then slowly grow from there. All right. So I did mention earlier that I was going to talk about an example. So when we started heading into our learning from home period here in Australia, in my particular context, we did decide to use Microsoft Teams. That was a senior leadership decision to use Microsoft Teams. It was something brand new to pretty much everyone, including myself. So it was like, woo! I really encouraged my particular team to use Class Notebook. And the reason why I encouraged us to use Class Notebook is because, and I can't show you it right now, but the great thing about Class Notebook is that you could actually create your OneNote, you can have your sections, you can have your pages, and you can actually send those particular pages out to your students when you are ready to share them, which is one of the great features. And that's one of the reasons why I thought that OneNote was a great tool. So rather than getting our students to complete things in Word and then download and upload and save and every single thing under the world, we would use OneDrive, we would use OneNote. It would all be in there. We would send out the work when we had created it, because obviously we were working on the fly. We were doing things, day by day, but we were also trying to make it easier for us as educators and trying to streamline everything. So OneNote is a really powerful tool. Class Notebook is fantastic, but as I mentioned, I can't show you Class Notebook right now because I don't have access to that within my personal account, and I'm not using my school account for this particular instance, because I am a professional and I'm not going to do that. But it is a tool that, you might decide to go and have a look at to see how you could actually use Class Notebook within your particular context. So I really encourage you to dive into OneNote. All right, have a look, have an experiment, see what you can create. Don't start too big, start small, have a look at something that is achievable, and then slowly grow from there. All right, let's head back to the presentation and let's just wrap up this episode tonight. So as I mentioned, OneNote isn't just a digital notebook, all right? It is a flexible tool that can really adapt to how you plan, how you teach, and how you support your students, your colleagues, your school, your team, your organization, all right? So it's all about moving that organization and starting to transform how we are being organized and how we are collating and creating and, what we're doing, so that we can actually move from being really organized to being super organized by using a powerful tool like OneNote. So some different ways that we can use OneNote as teachers: lesson planning, units, assessments, okay? We can keep meeting notes, observations. We can complete professional learning activities. We can have, links to different kinds of places. We can have resources. We can have a digital planner, which is obviously something that I've thought about creating in the past. Might think about it. We'll see how we go. All right. So there's so many different ways that you can use this as a teacher. Again, it is only limited by your imagination. Okay, how can we use it for students? We can create digital workbooks, all right? We can get our students taking notes. We can get them adding text, drawings, images, audio. We can have different subjects. We can get our students reflecting on their work. We can track projects. We can have portfolios. Again, only limited by what you can imagine. Okay, we can use OneNote for collaboration. Students can work together. Teachers can work together. We can have really intense, engaging group tasks that become visible and interactive, and we can do that through OneNote. Okay, we can use OneNote for assessment and feedback. And again, I've got another example here. My wonderful friend, Rebecca, who I worked with many years ago, I know that she had an assessment that she created and she spent a lot of time on this. And we were looking at Romeo and Juliet. It's back when we had the digital education revolution with our Year 9 students here in Australia. So they were all given laptops and devices. Beck put together this fantastic OneNote assessment that our students had to complete. There were a number of different tasks and activities. and it was outstanding. I wish I still had access to it. I probably do somewhere. It was an exceptional tool. She was a very smart, intelligent educator who I really learned a lot from. And when she left me, I was absolutely devastated. So, Beck, you really did mean a lot to me professionally. So thank you for that. But thank you for doing something that was at that particular time probably quite innovative. So that is really great. We can also use OneNote to track drafts, student progress. We can provide that formative assessment. It's a place to keep evidence. There are so many different ways that we can use OneNote for assessment and feedback. We can also use it for innovation. So we can create interactive lesson materials, right? So many things that you can do here, right? Again, we can embed different links. We can embed different forms. We can embed PowerPoint presentations. We can do so many different things to create interactive learning materials. All right, we can build digital portfolios. We can support project-based and inquiry learning through OneNote. We can encourage creativity through multimodal responses. Again, it is only limited by what you can imagine, right? If you can imagine this, you can probably create something pretty amazing and spectacular using OneNote. Okay, so OneNote isn't about replacing what you already do. No. All right, it's not replacing what you do. OneNote is all about enhancing what you're doing now, simplifying what you're doing and making it more flexible. All right. So it's not about changing what we're doing that we've been doing for 100 years as educators. It's just taking what we do and finding a different way to approach it so that we are enhancing what we do. We're simplifying it. We're making it more flexible. We want to put more time back in your hands to have a life, to be a human and not sit there forever having to do these, admin tasks and do all this stuff that we do day in and day out, especially in our own time. And it's just an expectation. We want to make things more simple. We want to make things flexible. We want to enhance what you're doing. And that is why OneNote is such a powerful tool as an educator. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all of these right now, but we have 12 wonderful ideas here for some practical classroom ideas. And I know I'm going to go very quick because we are over time, because I love obviously sharing, and there's so much that we could do here. And as I've mentioned many times in this episode, we can't fit it all into an hour, and I proved that tonight. So here's some practical classroom ideas. If you want to look at these, you might pause the video and have a look at these a little bit later when you're not listening to me ramble on. But here are 12 ideas. I'm just going to pop these ideas up here now. All right. And you're going to have a look and go, Tristan, why are they different colored? All right. So we've got a couple of different kinds of ideas here. All right. So we've got some kind of interactive, workbook type activities. We've got exit tickets. We've got inquiry journals and things like that. Okay, so we do have that there as well. I'm just going to go back to my notes if I can find them so I can actually tell you what the colors mean, because I have forgotten. Let me go and find my notes. Okay, so what are the colors? Oh, here we go. All right, so our aqua color here, these are examples of different ways that we can use OneNote in our teaching and learning. All right, so interactive lesson notes, digital notebooks, guided reading, revision hubs, 4 very simple practical classroom ideas to get you started. Okay, our next 4 here in our yellow, these are different ways that we can use OneNote for student engagement. So exit tickets, inquiry journals, creative responses, brainstorming and mind mapping. These are different activities that we could use OneNote for classroom engagement. Okay, then we have here in this kind of reddy, peachy color, these are examples of different ways that we could use OneNote for collaboration and communication. So group projects, feedback activities, okay, are 2 very simple ways that we can use OneNote in the classroom. And finishing off with our kind of goldy color here, these are some examples of some different assessment and organizational kind of activities that we could use OneNote for in our classroom. So digital portfolios, we've talked about digital portfolios many times here at Evolve EdTech, but we could also use OneNote for feedbacking and conferencing and things like that. So there's just 12 examples. If you want to read those in a little bit more depth, probably pause the video because I don't want to take up too much more time. So I'm going to very quickly move on from this, but there's 12 practical classroom ideas to get you started with OneNote. So we've talked about this already, but this is what I really encourage you to do. I really want you to go and have a look at OneNote, play around and see what you can do with it. So start with just 1 or 2 ideas and build from there, right? Your confidence grows with use. I didn't just fall out of the womb and start using EdTech. I tried something, and it was probably, if I go back to my first high school teaching gig, it was Moodle. I started off with something really small. It might have been putting up a worksheet. Right? I can tell you that my confidence grew when I was using Moodle, and I remember, and I've told this story before, I remember creating an assessment, uploading it onto Moodle, getting my students to complete it digitally, submit it on Moodle, and I actually remember giving my students their results back on Moodle, right? That wasn't going to happen the first day I used Moodle. That grew from continuously using Moodle, practicing, experimenting, see what worked, and growing that confidence. So don't think that you need to fall out of the womb and be able to use all of the, very sophisticated features and functions of OneNote. No, go in there, get started, create something small, move from there, see what you can do, then continue to build on that as your confidence and use grows. So thank you so much. We have made it. It has been incredible. Woo, what a session. Session number 23 of Innovative EdTech, OneNote 101, getting started with digital notebooks. I think OneNote is such a powerful tool. I hope that I have been able to reflect that and share that with you in this episode. As I mentioned, every time I introduce something, I want you to experiment with it. I want you to practice and play with it, all right? And then see if it's right to pop in your EdTech toolkit. If it's not, then don't do that, right? But you're not going to know if you don't go out there and have a look at it first. So dive in if you have access to OneNote, see if it's right for you and your students, and then go from there. Well, thank you so much. If you would love to stay connected with us here at Evolve EdTech, we would love to stay connected with you. You can head over to our website, evolveedtech.com. That's where you'll find anything related to Evolve EdTech. If you're looking for something specific, that is your go-to resource. All right. Don't forget that if you are joining us on YouTube this evening, that we would love it if you haven't, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We would love to grow our subscriber base. We'd love to get to 1,000 subscribers. So that means we need you and your colleagues and your friends to come and subscribe. We'd love it if you gave this video a thumbs up as well, because that just helps other people find us. All right, you can join us on socials. We are probably more active on Facebook and Instagram. We do have TikTok. We haven't posted much on TikTok lately, so you can also join us on those social channels. Okay, if you'd like to check out our previous Innovative EdTech episodes, they are available on the Innovative EdTech playlist over on our YouTube channel. So just head over to Evolve EdTech's YouTube channel and you'll be able to find all of our past 22 episodes. Okay, so you can go and check those out and maybe learn something new and add something new to your EdTech toolkit. Okay, we do have another wonderful opportunity here for you to continue to grow at Evolve EdTech, and that is the Tech Ready Teacher Digital Conference. So this is our free digital conference. This year was the second year. All right, if you'd like to go and grab your free access, you can go and grab access right now. You'll have access to 15 pre-recorded videos looking at a whole range of different EdTech tips, tricks, and tools. All right. And you can go and check those out at your particular pace. 100% free, 100% available. All right. And that is the Tech Ready Teacher Digital Conference. Okay, if you're looking for a little bit more professional learning and you would like to go one step further to build your knowledge and expertise and become an ultimate teacher when it comes to educational technology, we'd love it if you would come and join us at the Tech Ready Teacher Academy. This is our membership academy here at Evolve EdTech. You'll be able to access me. There's a live masterclass each month, right? You'll be given ad-free recordings of all of our Innovative EdTech episodes. You get a monthly template. There's a whole swag of pre-recorded videos in there for you to use, but you will definitely grow and take something away as an educator. If you'd like to go and check out our academy, just head over to evolveedtech.com/academy and go and have a look at that and see if you'd like to come and join us at the Tech Ready Teacher Academy. Okay, if you're still looking for some more, you can head over to evolveedtech.com/free stuff to check out a whole range of free resources and workshops that we have available for you, because we are all about giving here at Evolve EdTech. So just head over to evolveedtech.com/free stuff to check that out. And that brings us to the end of episode 23. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It has been a whirlwind. I know we are over time, and I am so sorry that that happened. But do you know what? I hope that you have taken something away from tonight's session. All right, our next Innovative EdTech episode will be in May, on May 11th at 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So we are based on Melbourne, Australia. But obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, that will show you your local time. All right, next month, Gemini in the classroom, 10 clever ways to teach and innovate. So we've looked at ChatGPT in the past. This time we're going to have a look at Gemini and some of those different things that you can do with Gemini to really jazz up your classroom so that you can teach and innovate in absolute style. So don't forget to join us on May 11th for episode 24 for Gemini in the classroom. But thank you so much for joining us for tonight's episode. My name is Tristan Heron. I am the Future Ready Teaching Specialist here at Evolve EdTech. It has been wonderful seeing you again. If you are brand new, thank you so much. If you're joining me again and you are a regular, it is lovely to have you here. Until next month, everybody, stay safe, and we'll catch you again for episode 24 of Innovative EdTech. Until then, everybody, see you later.